Hello everyone, I am CN Avpreet and welcome back to our channel Being Safe with Preet. Throughout our CA practice, many of our clients have approached us with the queries related to property sale transactions and tax implications of the sale, like how to save tax on sale of residential house property, whether the gain should be treated as short-term or long-term, etc. So here we are with the video on the most relatable topic, that is how to save tax on sale of residential house property. We hope this video reaches to a larger audience and help them solve the basic queries related to this topic. Before starting with it, please hit the bell icon to subscribe to our channel and get notified about the upcoming tax related videos. Let's get started. Now I'll be sharing my screen with you. In today's video, we are going to cover the following topics: important definitions related to capital gains, how to calculate period of holding, how to calculate capital gain tax, tax rates on short-term and long-term capital gains, Section 54, Section 54F, Section 54 EC, what is a capital gain account scheme, and at the end, we are going to cover some frequently asked queries so that you have a better understanding of. So now let's move to our first definition. What is a capital gain tax? Any profit or gain arising from the sale of the capital asset is the capital gain. So basically, capital gain is equals to sale value minus purchase value of capital asset. Since this profit also comes under the category of income, therefore tax is payable on the same, and this tax is called capital gain tax. अब ये कैपिटल गेन टैक्स लगता कब है? जब भी हम कोई कैपिटल एसेट को ट्रांसफर करेंगे तो उस फाइनेंशियल ईयर में ये कैपिटल गेन टैक्स आप पे लगेगा। अब ये कैपिटल गेन टैक्स लगता कब है? जिस भी ईयर में आप कोई कैपिटल एसेट को ट्रांसफर करेंगे उस ईयर में कैपिटल गेन टैक्स टैक्सेबल होगा। नाउ वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज अ कैपिटल एसेट एंड व्हेन डज द ट्रांसफर टेक प्लेस। सो मूविंग फर्दर टू आवर नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. Now, when does the transfer take place? Transfer in relation to a capital asset includes sale, exchange or relinquishment of an asset, extinguishment of any rights in relation to a capital asset, compulsory acquisition of an asset, conversion of a capital asset into stock in trade, maturity or redemption of a zero coupon bond, या जब भी आपने कोई इमोवल प्रॉपर्टी का पोजेशन परचेजर को दे दिया तब उस प्रॉपर्टी का ट्रांसफर मान लिया जाएगा और तब उस पे कैपिटल गेन टैक्स लगेगा. बट देयर आर सम ट्रांजैक्शंस जो कि ट्रांसफर नहीं होते. सो लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर द ट्रांजैक्शंस व्हिच आर नॉट ट्रीटेड एज ट्रांसफर. Distribution of asset in kind by a company to its shareholders at the time of liquidation. Transfer of a capital asset under a gift or will is not regarded as transfer under capital gains. अगर आपको कोई कैपिटल एसेट किसी विल या गिफ्ट के रूप में मिली है तो उस पर भी कैपिटल गेन टैक्स नहीं लगेगा. Transfer of a capital asset by a company to its wholly owned subsidiary, also in case of amalgamation or demerger, अगर कोई एसेट ट्रांसफर हुए हैं तो उस पर भी कैपिटल गेन टैक्स नहीं लगेगा. Transfer of a capital asset to a company in case of conversion of proprietary concern into a company. Now let's move further to understand what is a capital asset. The definition of the same has been given under Section 2, subsection 14 of Income Tax Act. A capital asset includes any kind of property held by the SSE, whether or not connected with this business or profession, like land, building, apartments, house property, vehicles, etc. And any securities held by FII which has invested in such securities in accordance with the regulations made under SEBI. Although there are some assets which are not treated as capital assets, like stock in trade, raw material, inventory, personal goods as clothes, furniture, movable property, these are not treated as capital asset. Also, our agricultural land in a rural India is not treated as a capital asset. But please note that jewelry, costly stones, ornaments, or any kind of work of art will be treated as a capital asset even if they are your personal assets. But personal goods like jewelry, ornaments, any work of art will be treated as capital asset. इसका मतलब ये है अगर आप अपनी ज्वेलरी बेचते हैं तो उस ज्वेलरी पर कैपिटल गेन टैक्स लगेगा. Now these capital assets are of two types, short term and long term. Short term capital assets are basically those assets which are held for a period of 36 months or less. But there are some assets which when held for 12 months or less are also known as but there are some assets which are considered as short-term capital assets when these are held for 12 months or less. For example, equity shares, preference shares, units of a UTI, or units of a equity oriented mutual fund, etc. However, long-term capital assets are those ये सब एसेट्स अगर आपके पास 12 मंथ्स या उससे कम पीरियड के लिए रही हैं तो उन्हें शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल एसेट्स माना जाएगा और अगर 12 मंथ से ज्यादा के पीरियड के लिए रही है तो उसे लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल एसेट माना जाएगा. फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर आप कोई इक्विटी शेयर 12 मंथ्स की होल्डिंग के बाद बेचते हैं तो उस पर लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन टैक्स लगेगा, ना कि शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन टैक्स. नाउ कमिंग टू लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल एसेट. These are assets, those are held for a period of more than 36 months. Although the criteria of 36 months have been reduced to 24 months for immovable properties such as land, building and house property from the financial year 17-18. For example, if you sell any house property after holding it for a period of 24 months, then that property will be treated as a long-term capital asset and any income arising on that capital asset will be treated as long-term capital gain and not short-term capital gain. However, this reduced period of 24 months is not applicable to movable property like jewelry and debt-oriented mutual funds. अब ये period of holding निकालते कैसे हैं? To understand that, let's move to our next slide. How to calculate the period of holding? Generally, the period of holding is the period between the date of sale of any capital asset and the date of purchase of that capital asset. For example, अगर आपने कोई घर जनवरी 2015 में खरीदा है and जनवरी 2019 में बेच दिया है तो उस एसेट की पीरियड ऑफ होल्डिंग 4 years होगी. दैट इज जनवरी 2019 माइनस जनवरी 2015. अब क्योंकि उस एसेट को आपने 24 मंथ से ज्यादा के लिए होल्ड करा है, that's why it will be treated as a long-term capital asset. To classify these assets properly, you need to understand that what is their period of holding. Now, how to calculate this period of holding? Generally, the period of holding is the period between the date of sale of any capital asset and date of purchase of any capital asset. For example, अगर आपने कोई प्रॉपर्टी जनवरी 2015 में खरीदी थी एंड जनवरी 2019 में बेच दी है तो उस एसेट की पीरियड ऑफ होल्डिंग इज 4 years. Since the period is 36 months or more, therefore that asset will be treated as a long-term capital asset and not short-term capital asset. But this formula will be different in case the asset is acquired by gift, will, succession or inheritance. In that case, पुराने ओनर की भी previous owner की भी period of hold include करनी पड़ेगी to determine whether it's a short-term capital asset or a long-term capital asset. Now, in case of bonus shares or right shares, the period of holding is counted from the date of allotment. In that case, the holding period of the previous owner will also be included to determine whether an asset is a short-term asset or a long-term capital asset. And in case of bonus shares or right shares, the period of holding will be calculated from the date of allotment of those shares. Now moving to the next and most important slide, that is how to calculate this capital gain. To understand this, you need to know few more terms like full value consideration, cost of acquisition, and cost of improvement. Now, what is full value of consideration? Full value of consideration is basically the sale value of that capital asset. जिस भी amount पे आप कोई capital asset को बेचते हैं, that is the sale value of that asset and basically the full value of consideration. Now, what is cost of acquisition? It is basically the purchase value of any capital asset. For example, in case you have purchased a house property, then the value of that property as per the index 2, including its stamp duty and registration charges, is the cost of acquisition of that property. Now let's move to cost of improvement. Any expenses of a capital nature incurred in making any additions or alteration to the capital asset by the seller. For example, अगर आपने अपने घर में एक नया फ्लोर बनाया है तो उस फ्लोर की कॉस्ट को आप कॉस्ट ऑफ इम्प्रूवमेंट में इंक्लूड कर सकते हैं, या आपने दो इंडिविजुअल फ्लैट्स को ज्वाइन करके एक 4 BHK बनाया तो उस कॉस्ट को भी आप कॉस्ट ऑफ इम्प्रूवमेंट में कवर कर सकते हैं. बट अगर आपने घर में पेंटिंग कराया है या रिपेयर कराया है तो वो कॉस्ट ऑफ इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं कहलाएगी. तो अभी तक हमने जो भी डिस्कस किया है उसको और अच्छे से समझने के लिए आई विल गिव एन एग्जांपल. लेट्स से इफ यू हैव परचेज्ड अ प्रॉपर्टी इन जुलाई 2004 for 50 lakhs and then you have sold that property in financial year 16-17 for 1.8 crore. तो इस केस में cost of acquisition will be 50 lakhs and our full value of consideration will be 1.8 crore. Date of sale and date of purchase के बीच का period 3 years से ज्यादा है, इसलिए ये एक long term capital asset रहेगी और इस पर long term capital gain लगेगा. Now to calculate this long term capital gain, we will have to calculate index cost of acquisition. By applying CII for FY 16-17 and 2004-5, the index cost of acquisition of 50 lakhs will be 1.17 crore. So in this case, the long-term capital gain will be 1.8 crore minus 1.17 crore. That will be 63 lakhs. Now applying the long-term capital gain tax rate, which is 20% on 63 lakhs, the capital gain tax in this case will be 12.60 lakhs. Now what are the ways by which we can save this tax? Let's move forward to understand those options. Option 1, Section 54 of Income Tax Act. This section allows you to take exemption of capital gain arising from sale of a long-term residential house property if the taxpayer invests in a new residential house property. A taxpayer can take this exemption only if the other conditions are fulfilled, which I'll be telling you going further. Option 2 is Section 54. This section allows you to take exemption of a long-term capital gain arising on sale of any long-term capital asset not being a residential house property. So in this case, the capital asset should not be a residential house property, but it can be any other long-term capital asset. If the taxpayer invests in a new residential house property, however, it needs to be ensured that after acquiring this new residential property, the assessee should not own more than one residential house other than the new asset on the date of sale of original asset, or he should not purchase or construct a residential house other than a new asset within a period of 2 years after the date of sale or within 3 years of sale. इवन लेटर ऑन जब वो नई प्रॉपर्टी खरीद लेता है उसके बाद भी विद इन 3 ईयर कोई नई रेसिडेंशियल प्रॉपर्टी नहीं बनानी है या नहीं खरीदनी है. अदरवाइज ही विल नॉट बी एलिजिबल फॉर एग्जेम्पशन अंडर दिस सेक्शन. Now to claim exemptions under both these options, Section 54 and Section 54F, these are some basic conditions which we need to fulfill. Number 1, this option is only available to individual or a HUF. Number 2, the asset transfer should be a long-term capital asset. In both these cases, जो एसेट ट्रांसफर हो रही है, सेल हो रही है, वो एक लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल एसेट ही होनी चाहिए। नंबर 3, reinvestment in a residential house property in India. This means you need to invest in a new residential house property only. And please note that this property should be in India only. Now you know that reinvestment is to be made in a residential house property in India, but वो investment आपको कब तक करना है? In case you are going to purchase or you are going to acquire a new residential property, then you can purchase that property 1 year before the date of transfer or within 2 years after the date of transfer. And in case आप एक नई residential property construct करने वाले हैं, then that property should be constructed within a period of 3 years from the date of transfer. Now, what are the differences between Section 54 and Section 54F? First point of difference, nature of asset transferred or sold. Under Section 54, the asset transferred should be a long-term residential house property, while under Section 54F, it can be any long-term capital asset other than residential house property. Second point of difference is regarding amount available for exemption. Under Section 54, the capital gains reinvested to purchase or construct a new residential property can be claimed as an exemption. While under Section 54F, if the full value of consideration is not reinvested in the new residential property, then exemption will be allowed proportionately. Let's understand this with the help of an example. Let's say sale value is 1 CR, purchase price is 80 lakhs, and capital gains on this property is 20 lakhs. For Section 54, amount to be invested in new house property for claiming exemption should be 20 lakhs. If you have invested the complete 20 lakhs amount in a new residential house property, then that amount can be taken as exemption under Section 54. For Section 54, amount to be invested in a new house property for claiming exemption is 1 CR. In case you are not investing full 1 CR in a new residential house property, then the exemption will be allowed to you proportionately. Let's say investment that you have made in a new residential property is 80 lakhs. Exemption will be 20 into 80 divided by 100, that is 16 lakhs. Both these exemptions can be withdrawn if the SSE sells the new residential house property within 3 years from the date of transfer of the old asset. Basically, this is a lock-in period for the new residential house property. अगर 3 साल से पहले उस नई रेसिडेंशियल प्रॉपर्टी को आप सेल कर देते हैं, तो उस प्रॉपर्टी पे लिया गया एग्जेम्पशन अंडर सेक्शन 54 and 54F will become chargeable under section 45 of Income Tax Act, and that shall be deemed to be income chargeable under the head capital gains relating to long-term capital asset of the previous year in which the new asset has been transferred. जिस भी साल में आप न्यू रेसिडेंशियल हाउस प्रॉपर्टी को बेचेंगे, उसी ईयर में कैपिटल गेन का एग्जेम्पशन विड्रॉ कर लिया जाएगा, एंड दैट विल बिकम एज योर इनकम ऑफ दैट प्रीवियस ईयर. You will have to pay capital gain tax, treating it as a short-term capital asset. Income Tax Department has also given an additional benefit from FY 1920. Although this additional benefit is only for option of exemption given under Section 54. Usually, टैक्स पेयर को एक घर के बदले एक ही घर में रीइन्वेस्ट करने का ऑप्शन मिलता है, बट फ्रॉम FY 1920 द टैक्स पेयर हैज बीन गिवन एडिशनल बेनिफिट टू इन्वेस्ट इन 2 residential houses after selling 1 long-term capital asset. In this way, he can claim additional benefit of capital gain. However, the SEC can claim this option only once in a lifetime, and the long-term capital gain should not exceed 2 CR. अगर आपकी ओल्ड लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल एसेट को सेल करने पे आपको 2.5 CR का कैपिटल गेन हुआ है एंड उसे रीइन्वेस्ट करने के लिए आपने 2 रेसिडेंशियल हाउस प्रॉपर्टीज खरीदी फॉर 2.5 CR, तब भी आपको एग्जेम्पशन सिर्फ 2 CR का मिलेगा. अदर देन दिस एडिशनल बेनिफिट, द SSE will always have the option to claim exemption under Section 54 by reinvesting in 1 residential house property. That option will remain forever. But this additional benefit can be used only once. Now let's move to the next slide, which talks about our third option, which is capital gain account scheme. To find a suitable seller for buying the new residential property and getting the paperwork done is a time-consuming process. And luckily, Income Tax Department understands this. That is why they have introduced the option of capital gain account scheme. If the capital gains are not reinvested in a new residential house property until 31st July or the due date of filing of return of the financial year in which the transfer has taken place, then that amount can be deposited in any PSU or a nationalized bank in accordance with capital gain account scheme. This deposit can then be claimed as exemption from capital gains and then no tax has to be paid on it. So this is another way to claim exemption. अगर आपने नई प्रॉपर्टी में इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया है रिटर्न फाइलिंग की डेट तक, as the period allowed to purchase or construct the new residential property is more than 1 year, then you can invest the capital gain amount in this scheme before the due date of filing of return. In case you fail to deposit under this scheme, you will have to pay tax on that capital gain arising on sale of your long-term capital asset. So basically, आप जितना भी अमाउंट इस स्कीम में डिपॉजिट करेंगे, आप उसका एग्जेम्पशन अपनी ITR में ले सकते हैं. अगर आपने इस स्कीम में इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया, तो आपका कैपिटल गेन लैप्स हो सकता है एंड आपको एग्जेम्पशन नहीं मिलेगा. If the money is not utilized for acquiring new house property within the stipulated time period of 3 years, then that deposit will be treated as short-term capital gains in the year in which the specified period lapses. Now let's move to our fourth and last option, that is Section 54EC. This is another way to claim exemption. The best part of this section is that any person can claim exemption under this section, which means it is not only open for individual or HUF, but it is open for all, like companies, LLP, or any other sort of organization. Although the capital gains for which you are taking exemption under this section should be arising from transfer of any long-term capital asset, being land, building, or both. To claim exemption under this section, the reinvestment should be made in specified assets being bonds of National Housing Authority of India, that is NHAI, or Rural Electrification Corporation, that is REC. मतलब इस सेक्शन में एग्जेम्पशन लेने के लिए आपको NHAI या REC की बॉन्ड्स में इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ेगा. Although the maximum amount of exemption allowed under this section is only 50 lakhs and time limit for this reinvestment is within 6 months. Now this exemption can also be withdrawn if the specified asset is transferred or converted into money or loan taken on its security within 5 years of its acquisition. Now this means इन bonds का lock-in period है 5 years. अगर 5 साल से पहले आप इन bonds को sell कर देते हैं या liquidate कर देते हैं, तो जो भी exemption आपने section 54EC में लिया है, वो withdraw हो जाएगा and that will be taxable as a short-term capital gain in the year of transfer of those bonds. So basically इन सभी ऑप्शंस में, चाहे वो सेक्शन 54 हो, सेक्शन 54F हो, कैपिटल गेन अकाउंट स्कीम हो या 54EC हो, में आपको ध्यान रखना है कि आप न्यू रेसिडेंशियल हाउस प्रॉपर्टी या कैपिटल गेन अकाउंट स्कीम में करा हुआ डिपॉजिट या बॉन्ड्स में किया हुआ री इन्वेस्टमेंट उनके लॉक इन पीरियड से पहले विड्रॉ नहीं करें. अगर आप ऐसा करते हैं तो लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन का एग्जेम्पशन आपको शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन टैक्स के रेट पे टैक्सेबल होगा इन द ईयर ऑफ ट्रांसफर और कन्वर्जन ऑफ दोस बॉन्ड्स और एसेट्स. So never transfer or liquidate your new capital asset before its lock-in period ends. So try not to sell or transfer the reinvestment made in long-term residential house property or bonds or deposit made under capital gain account scheme within its stipulated lock-in period. So this is all about capital gains and how to take exemptions from capital gains arising on transfer of a long-term capital asset. Now let's move to the last part of the video, that is frequently asked questions. Now the first query which we'll be discussing is there any requirement that SSC should file the return before the due date under section 139(1) to claim exemption under section 54 or 54F? For this, I would like to tell you that whether the reinvestment, be it in a long-term residential house property or a deposit in capital gain account scheme or in the bonds, it should be done before the due date of filing of return. But it does not stipulate that the return should also be mandatorily filed before the due date. So, in case you have reinvested as per the four options discussed before the due date of filing of return, then that exemption will be allowed to you even if the return is not filed within the due date. Moving to the second query, which is whether the property purchased in the joint name with wife is eligible for exemption under Section 54 or 54F. Section 54 or 54F mandates that the house should be purchased by the SSE, but it does not stipulate that the house should only be in the name of SSE. So this means if the property was purchased by the SSE in joint name, although the whole consideration of the purchase is paid by the SSE, then the SSE is entitled to take exemption under Section 54 or 54F. Merely because the sale deed is in a joint name will not affect his eligibility to take exemption under Section 54 or 54F. Moving to query 3, can the new residential house property be bought out of India? As I have already told you in the earlier slides that the new residential property should always be purchased in India. If you have bought a new residential property out of India, then that will not be allowed as an exemption under Section 54 or 54F. Moving to query 4. Whether the nexus between capital gain and amount of investment under Section 54 is necessary. So this query basically means जो भी आप नया reinvestment कर रहे हैं वो old property की sale proceeds से ही कर रहे हैं. But it is not at all mandatory to use the sale proceeds of old capital asset only for buying a new residential house property. Therefore, SSE will be allowed an exemption under Section 54 even if he has bought the new residential property out of borrowed funds or any other fund of his own. Query 5. Whether the cost of residential house includes the cost of plot. So yes, the cost of plot will be included in the cost of acquisition while calculating the capital gains. Now query 6 is whether sale proceeds of one residential property reinvested in more than one residential unit be eligible for deduction under Section 54. So yes, if the SSE purchases two adjacent or adjoining flats or residential units which are used as single residential unit or house, then the exemption will be allowed. Deduction under Section 54 is allowed in case of adjacent and contiguous flats. Now the last query of our session, query 7. What if the builder of the new residential construction fails to hand over the property to the taxpayer within 3 years of purchase? In that case also, the exemption will still be allowed to the SSE, as he must have already deposited the amount in capital gain account scheme. So the exemption under Section 54 will not be withdrawn in case the builder defaults in delivering the residential house property within the stipulated period to the SSE, as the buyer's intention were true. So this was the last query and last part of our video. In case you have any queries related to this topic, you can leave your queries in the In case you have any queries related to this topic, you can leave your queries in our comment section or you can email them to our email ID. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has given you useful insights and will help you to understand and deal with such property sale transactions in future. If you found this video useful and informative, please give it a like and share it with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel Being CA with Preet. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.